Hey everybody, it's Clayton coming back with a new video. Today I've got some news I want to go over. I want to go over the big news that happened with Shell. The stocks in April breaking an 82-year high, and the Dow today finished down 600 points, and where I think it may be going in the future and why. And obviously go over my portfolio. I've had another purchase of a few things. But before I get started, if tracking the portfolio, going over the news for dividend investors interests you, please drop a like on this video. Feel free to subscribe. Greatly appreciated. Helps out the algorithm. And I'm sitting at like 150 now. Still can't believe that, but thank you guys. But let's jump right into the video. So to start, I really want to go over my new activity. I'm down $483, and for anyone that's new to the channel, this doesn't bother me at all. I'm a dividend investor. The gains isn't that big of a deal because of it's a long-term investment, not a short-term investment. I'm not turning around and selling this. I've said in the past, it's the perfect example is looking at your home. If you were to look at your home's value every day, it's going to go up and down. But until you're planning on selling it, the value of it really doesn't mean much. Obviously, it's nice to see it in the green, and when it gets in the green, it'll be great to see. But I'm not selling this anytime soon. And as long as the stocks I'm holding aren't cutting their dividends, that's all that really matters to me. And let's just dive in quickly about the purchase I made this week. So we've got the Chase paid out $1.65 of their dividends finally. I finally got it. So let's go to the morning buys. This was as of yesterday. We got some Target, we got some Walgreens, some Coke, some Pepsi, some Realty Income Corp, some Wells Fargo, some JP Morgan, Verizon, SPHD, Disney, and 3M. Disney is one that I kind of want to touch on briefly, but I'm not really going to dive into. I will not be shocked if they cut their dividends in the near future. I've seen I live here in Orlando, and I see how it is with the parks being down and how much it's really hurting that company and a lot of other things. So don't be shocked with Disney if they do cut their dividends. Though that looks like it may be a possibility, their stock continues to rise again. Not really sure how. Nothing's really changed. Their streaming service is doing well, but they've lost so much revenue. But again, the stock market's its own beast, so I never try to predict the market. It's a waste of my time. So the first thing I want to jump into, besides my portfolio, was what I was talking about briefly ago, about the 82 years. So this last month, April just passed, and we saw that it had the best April in 82 years. And the stock market, as we saw, obviously, in late February and March, had pretty much a free fall of, I think it was 30%. And in April, it bounced back. The Dow went up 11.1%. NASDAQ was 12.7%. And the S&P was 12.7%, and the NASDAQ was 15.5%. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea why this was the case. With the market being the way it is, with people continuously, more and more people losing their jobs, just everything happening the way it is, you would think the market would feel this effect, but the government keeps throwing money into the stock market to try to save it. Sadly, one way or another, it's one thing that Trump has really used as his he plants his flag with. I'm not going politically if I agree or disagree with anything here, but I can see why the government is, one, trying to make sure the economy is okay, because so many people have money invested in the market, especially in the 401ks, and two, a strong economy and market will help him come the election in November. So I just wanted to point out, because I was surprised that this was the largest it's grown in 82 years in April. Obviously, it's very specific, but that's in the times we are, this would have been the 1 month. If you'd have told me, oh, we're going to break an 82-year record for the month of April, I'd have essentially laughed at you. But that again shows why it's almost impossible to predict the market. And anyone that tells you they can is lying. That you can use evidence and proof to help guide you in a path, but there's no way to predict the market. There just isn't. The market as a whole, there's too many reasons for the market to change. Another top story I really wanted to go into was one that, sadly, I don't really know who this gentleman is. Stefan, it could be Stefan. But he talks about, it looks like he's an opinion writer for Seeking Alpha, and I've seen a few of his things. But he makes a very good statement that I really wanted to highlight for you guys, because it points out exactly what I was literally just saying. So you'll see he states in his article, following unprecedented market conditions in Q1 2020 and in April, Shell did the previously unthinkable and slashed its dividends by 66%. Out of all the dividend cuts and suspensions this pandemic has already brought to my portfolio, this one comes as a shock, as obviously pinpoints that I was wrong when I declared Shell will do whatever it takes to maintain the dividends in the short term. That right there, and because Shell, this is the first cut, you see the dividends cut marks the first time since World War II, and easily overshadowed their earnings. This is why, and I've said it already twice in this video, and I'll say it again, there is never a sure thing when it comes to stocks. You can do the research and you can do any form of basically understanding the stock, its finances. But you can never tell somebody that a stock is going to continue to pay dividends for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Regardless of what they've done in their past, things happen. And unfortunately, as we've seen with the oil market right now, the oil market's getting destroyed when you think of it for many reasons. Obviously, we know about Russia and Saudi Arabia, that no one's really driving right now or flying, so oil is not being used for that. So the price of oil, though it has gone up the last few days, last I saw it yesterday, it was at $17, which is still minuscule compared to where it was. It was in the 50s before all this started. And then obviously we saw that it went negative right as the May contract ended. But there's never a sure dividend. And especially in a time like this, people think they know exactly what's going to happen with dividends. You can take a guess or a prediction. But unless the company is still doing well, you don't know. There's always a risk. And that's what I've been saying with my portfolio for the last 3 weeks. Every time I make a video, I say, I feel comfortable with these stocks. I've done my research with these stocks, why I feel they will not get cut. And you've seen my portfolio 100 times with my holdings. I feel comfortable when I look through my holdings and I look at IBM and I look at AT&T and 3M. And I think JP Morgan and Wells Fargo will cut theirs. Actually, yeah. Then like Walgreens and Coke, I feel comfortable with them, but I'm not going to openly sit here and tell you, oh, there's no way they cut their dividends, because nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. You can hope they don't based off of what their sales are, based off of their history, and go from there and make the best educated guess you can make using the information you can find when it comes to their balance sheets and cash on hand. But there's never a sure thing. And as soon as Shell cut their dividends, like anyone could expect, and this is going to happen to pretty much any company that cuts their dividends, you see Shell announced, I want to say it was Thursday after the market had closed, or Wednesday after the market had closed. But you see a very, very quick decline of 10%, basically before the market even opened. And now it's down, as of today, 17.2%, so $6, almost $6.50. And when a dividend, especially a dividend paying stock like Shell, does this, obviously we know that nothing good is going on right now with the oil, sadly. It's not a shock to see this sell off, and that's for anybody else. So in my opinion, unless it's a company that you know is going to bounce back, and Shell very well may. I just don't invest in oil stocks, not because I'm high and mighty and don't like oil stocks for that reason. I just don't know how long of a future they hold. They very well may have another 300, 400, 500 years in them. I haven't dove into that section long enough to say I feel comfortable investing in that. And that when I invest in something, it's something I have to fully understand and be comfortable with. And when it comes to oil, same when it comes to Tesla, I'm just not fully comfortable putting money into those stocks yet because I don't really know what the future holds. You can make assumptions, you can make guesses, you can make predictions, but I don't really know. And that's kind of why I stay away from oil stocks personally, because there may be a point where we stop using oil and it's going to then become a sell-off of how quickly can I sell my stock before it starts to fall. I'm not saying we're anywhere near that point, but it's just for me, that's why I kind of stay away from it. And the last thing I wanted to touch on, besides that, with dividends, make sure you always do due diligence, see their numbers. In times like this, there's really no way to know if everything's safe. You can predict it. You can try to predict it. But don't take anyone's word. Mine as well. I'm not a financial advisor. I do this for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research. But because I say something is a good stock, please don't take that as, oh, it's guaranteed they're going to pay a dividend, or it's guaranteed they're going to go up in price. And that goes with anybody else you see on this site or anywhere else. If anyone tells you openly, this is a guaranteed stock that's going to do A, B, or C, as much as I hate saying that they're a liar, they're a liar. They have no idea what it's truthfully going to do. They can assume what it's going to do because of what they've seen. They may be able to predict short-term gains when it comes to just how things are going. But you never know because anything can happen. And a perfect example of this is Boeing. Boeing looked like, if you had told me 2 years ago that Boeing was going to be where they're at now, I'd have definitely told you, or I would have, let's just say my words wouldn't have been safe for YouTube. And I think that I would have basically thought you were crazy, because who could have predicted the crashes that happened? Who could have predicted the oil problem that's happened? Who could have predicted this whole situation? I can't say, but you know. So please just do when you do anything, do your own research and make sure you're comfortable with the stocks you buy. Do not take it from somebody else, including myself, as factual or truth. But the last thing I want to touch on today was the Dow was down 600 points today. It fell pretty, I wouldn't call it drastic. It's over, I think it was a little bit over 1%. And There's a few reasons why. Amazon fell, Apple fell, and they're big boys in this. Obviously, Shell is also. But the one thing that I want to focus on, and this is where I kind of go towards the future, and it's funny because of what I just said, I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I'll explain why. It says, meanwhile, I'm going to try to put this where I won't lose the ability to have this video and it does not get promoted. But essentially, President Trump has indicated that he's considering imposing more tariffs on China because of how they handled everything. Plain and simple. If you don't understand what that means, which I'm assuming almost everybody here watching does, look into what's going on with China and everything going on right now. People think things are hidden, and there's a lot of other conspiracy theories, possibly truths. Nobody knows as to what happened. They just know that it was underreported, and maybe things could have been prevented from where they are today. And in my opinion, I think that's why the market fell. Market Watch also was talking about the same thing. But if tariffs are imposed, I won't be shocked to see the market fall again. And I mean by a drastic amount. I don't know if it'll hit the low that it hit back in, I want to say it was early March, maybe in late February. I'm not sure it'll get that low again, but honestly, it would not surprise me if new tariffs get put into place because of everything going on right now in the markets, which we just talked about earlier when it comes to unemployment and people getting checks in the mail because they're not working and just everything. There's no reason for the market to continue to go up unless the government keeps throwing money into it. And then putting tariffs on top of what's going on, I just don't see how the market withstands it, even with the help of the government. And I personally think it has a pretty good chance of falling. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. I'd love to see the market keep growing. I hate seeing people lose money. When the market does fall, it becomes a better opportunity for people like myself and probably anyone watching this channel that wants to invest. You get into windows that you wouldn't have had. Even now, it's still a great window because we're going to be growing a lot more in the next decade. And the purpose of this channel is long-term investing, not for quick sells and turnarounds of this year, next year. So as always, I really thank you guys for listening. If you've made it this far, as I've said before, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is claytonscash89, CLAYTONSCASH89 @gmail.com. It'll also be in the description of this video. I've had a few of you guys email me asking me questions, specifically when it comes to advice or the M1 Finance video that I made. And I'll gladly help you along the way. I can help as best I can. The people I've spoken to, it seems like I've helped them a lot. And I'm glad I did. If you are one of the people that I've spoken to that I've helped, feel free to leave a comment stating that I helped you guys privately. If you don't mind, I don't really care if you don't. Obviously, if you want to keep it private, that's perfectly fine. But as always, I really want to thank you guys. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't. Feel free to like this video, get it to more people. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you are able to relax. Just put your feet up and try not to stress too much. And it looks like states and cities are starting to open back up slowly. So we'll see where this goes. Nobody knows really. It's going to be up in the air. But as always, guys, thank you and have a good evening.